Hello, hello. It's Mish, and welcome to A Soft Place to Land, the show for the tender-hearted, the creatives, and the ones learning to hold themselves. Rooted in radical honesty and deep care, this is a space where you exhale, where your truths are welcome, where your wounds are seen, and your journey is honored. Here we support navigating transformation, self-discovery, and personal growth with a hint of spiritual hope. Through personal insights and heartfelt conversations, this nurturing and inspiring space is for listeners ready to shed old identities and hold themselves with deep care. I'm so excited to introduce my conversation with Mackenzie, yoga teacher by trade, so much more. She's a somatic explorer, intuitive truth teller who helps people reconnect with their bodies in more ways than just through yoga. We talk about friendship breakups, sacred anger, the myths of timelines, and how letting go of old versions of ourselves actually opens up the room for who it is that we are becoming. I came across the different lives that you've lived, and you mentioned the lore of life, and
Yeah.
that did something for me. So I would love for you to explain a little bit about that.
Okay, so I feel like the first thing I want to say is that I never had a plan for my life. I mean, maybe sort of up until my early 20s, maybe I had an idea of what it was going to be like, but I have never really had a plan. Even now, I don't like to think about the future. I do, but and maybe there's like a part of that that's like not super healthy, but I don't like to think too far ahead because I've learned that there's just no point and things are always changing, and I think that that's the most exciting part of life is that I don't know where I'm going to be in the next 6 months, year, 5 years. And that's something I actually learned from my therapist because, probably unsurprisingly, I'm riddled with anxiety. And when I start talking to a potential partner, for example, that is really the only time when I start thinking about the future. I'm predicting every possible outcome that could come from that relationship. And me being like, I don't know where we're gonna be next week. I don't know where we're gonna be in a year, if we're gonna end up together. Da, 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 da. And my therapist sort of taught me to switch the way that I think about it, a mindset shift to, instead of approaching questions and the future with fear, instead to approach it with curiosity. And that genuinely changed my life, to say, instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, I don't know where I'm going to be living in 6 months, I don't know if I'm still going to be with this person in 6 months. Instead, I could think, I don't know what my life is going to look like in 6 months. And isn't that the most exciting thing ever? Isn't that so fun? Because who wants to know what your life is going to look like, all planned out, down to every detail? Personally, I think that's really boring. And I think that also is, a result of the mindset shift that I've had, is that I now find that really boring and actually scary to know everything. So, anyways, I think that's kind of the approach that I've had for a long time, which is I don't like to plan out the future. I'm a planner for like the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, but in terms of like the distant future, it's just I've learned to not really think that far ahead. And because of that, I think that has brought me down lots of different avenues. And I also do just want to say, because I've had so many like sweeties reach out to me in my DMs and say like, you're an inspiration. Because they also like saw that reel, that TikTok, which was so interesting to me because it took me like 2 seconds to make. And that's like always how it goes. And it went viral. But reaching out to me, being like, you're such an inspiration. I want to live like the kind of life you've lived. Like, how did you do it? And like, I have lots of different answers to that question. But one thing that I want to make really clear is that a lot of it would not have been possible without my resources and the privilege that I've had, because it takes privilege to have choice in your life. And that is the biggest, blessing that I've had, because, as you can see from the reel, I've kind of like started my life over a million different times. And I mean, obviously that's hyperbolic, but like a good amount of times for somebody who's only 31, I've tried a bunch of different things and I've lived in a lot of different places. And I have been allowed that freedom of movement and the freedom to take risks. That's the biggest thing I think that maybe separates my life from other people's, is that I've taken a lot of risks. And one of the reasons why I've been able to do that is because I know that I have a family to fall back on. So I've felt a sort of confidence in that. I know that if I try this, I'm not going to end up on the street. Maybe, I'm going to really struggle and I'm not going to have a lot of money, or I'm going to have to move back home, or like whatever it may be, but I've known all along that I will be okay, and that is a privilege that so many people don't have. So I really want to say that first and foremost. But yeah, I think I've had a lot of curiosity. I've taken a lot of risks, and I have also seen what money does to people. And so I think I've never really lived a life in pursuit of a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I think that also is one of the reasons that has led me down a lot of different avenues, because that was never my end goal to have a lot of money. I just wanted to live my life and have a lot of experiences. Like that's still one of my priorities. And I mean, let's get it right. Like money is very important, because I'm not going to say like money's nothing, it's whatever. Like it's very important, and in a certain way, like money can buy happiness in the sense that money can buy security
Yeah.
to a certain degree. So yeah, all those things kind of have come together in this concoction that has, let my life play out the way that it's played out.
For somebody who doesn't know what video I'm referring to, would you be able to describe it a little bit?
Basically, it's like a 5-second reel where I'm like jumping up and down in my bed for what? I don't know. But on the screen, I just have text where I'm like, I was like, there's no such thing as a timeline. I went to grad school and got my master's degree in international business. I lived in Spain and was a teacher. Haven't used my degree at all. Then I moved to Bali and became a yoga teacher. I was living there for a few months, and then I learned how to surf for the first time when I was 27 in Portugal. And then I moved completely alone to New York at 30. And I think I was just kind of listing like the different side hustles, side gigs, like plots have come up in my life. And it seemed to really resonate with people.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it deeply resonated because what you were talking about in the caption,
Mm,
you had mentioned the lore of life, and to allow those timelines to embrace this evolution and this multidimensionality of self. And for me personally, as someone who can relate to having different interests and honestly following what it is that is calling me without too much rhyme or reason behind it other than sort of just this knowing and feeling of needing to kind of do this for myself, even if it doesn't make sense thinking about it or talking about it with other people. And so it's been a journey for me personally, making peace with those parts of self
yeah.
and the versions that I no longer am, and the lessons that came along with those timelines, and the loves and the losses, and all of the beauty that is being a multidimensional person and being somebody who, like you said, isn't afraid to follow that feeling and to follow that instinct to go to a certain place that you've never been to before, or try a new activity that you've never thought of or always admired and didn't necessarily picture for yourself. So, this last year has been a sort of unraveling of this idea that those versions of me still exist. And
Mm,
with the beauty and with the not as beautiful parts, really learning to hold those versions of self and allow them to inspire this version of self
mhm.
for the next,
Right.
really just through that, appreciating the little pieces that you can take with you from those different worlds that you've existed in.
Yeah, totally resonate with that. And it's actually interesting that you bring that up because one of my other reels, again, that took like 2 seconds to make, that had a big chunk of people watch it. My caption was basically like, the idea that dream jobs exist is a capitalistic ideology that basically gets us to, go to school for 18 years and then continue with our higher education and have this job and work towards something that's ultimately not real because it obviously benefits the economy. But what it also does is really harm people by making them feel that if they don't find this one thing, this dream job, that they haven't, reached ultimate fulfillment and satisfaction in life. And I bought into that propaganda. I feel like, look around, everyone around you has probably bought into that propaganda. And the reality is that I mean, this is my belief, my opinion, but I don't think there's such thing as a dream job. I don't even really think there's such thing as a purpose. I think that we're just here to experience life. And so I guess if that's what you want to say our purpose is, then that's what I think it is. So, unfortunately, we have to make money to survive. So that's the reality of the life that we live. So we do have to have a job. Think that it's helpful to make people think that we have to love this job or our passion has to, manifest itself into this job. I think that a job is a means to an end, the end being surviving and existing in the world. And that we have to make the most of our life outside of that. And I know that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people right now, students in college, who are like, fuck, like I haven't picked my major. I don't know what I want to do. Like nothing really like sparks my interest. And it's like, babe, nothing is going to spark your interest for your whole life. Like I promise you, you're not going to find a thing that you want to do every day for the next 50 years. Like even people who have the jobs that you think would make your life perfect, being an actor, a musician, an artist, like anything like that, there are days where they don't want to do that thing, right? Because work is work at the end of the day. And there's never going to be a time where work doesn't feel taxing in some way, shape, or form. So anyways, that kind of goes back to what you were saying of feeling like you need to figure out your life, or feeling like you need to pick one thing, and now you have accepted these different versions of yourself. And I think that sort of plays into the multitudes of it all. And that I think my life, and other people's lives too, if they so choose, can be split into like eras. Like I think of my life in eras. Like right now I'm in my city girl era. Like I moved to New York a year ago. I'm loving, yeah, being in the city, being inspired by cool and hot people everywhere. It's like a little bit annoying sometimes. Everyone's hot, everyone's cool, but it inspires you to challenge yourself and try new things. And I just love it. There's like such an energy about being in this city. But I also know myself, and I know that I also really love peace and quiet. I really love nature. I really love being by the ocean. That is something that is so strongly like connected to my soul. Some could say it's because I'm a Cancer, but I don't know. I just love being by the water. And I mean, all the time I'm kind of constantly pulled towards the ocean, like going to a surf town. Like I love to surf. That's a way that I like connect with Mother Nature. And I accept those parts of me. And I don't think that I always have to be a city girl, or I don't always have to be a small town surf girly. Like I can be both of those things and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I have to choose. And I think that's where so much like struggle and shame and guilt and strife like come with people, is feeling like they need to pick a thing and stick to it, and it's just not realistic, especially if you have ADHD. That's what I've learned recently.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, what for you, like, what does that look like? Creating the peace with the uncertainty and with letting yourself just fucking live rather than feeling like you need to be so rigid and structured and have this goal by this time. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
all of that is beautiful and has its place and is right and just. Yeah, let's talk to the ADHD girlies and the fellow humans who can relate to what we're talking to of like, okay, in the present moment, in the
Mhm.
now, how do we not let ourselves, get scared by that?
Scared by which aspect? Like the timeline aspect or the being pulled in different directions aspect?
Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha
yeah,
there.
for real. Damn, I would like you to answer both if you would.
Oh my God. Okay, I think the being called to a bunch of different things thing, I'm honestly currently still figuring out. So let's bookmark that. Come back to that. But in terms of the timeline stuff, I think I feel particularly passionate about talking about this at this point of my life that I'm in because I think the biggest thing and I get such like interesting reactions when I say this to people. I have been single for 10 years. As in, like, obviously, I've gone on dates, I've had like almost relationships, blah, 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 but I have not had like an exclusive official partner since I was 21 years old. So I think that I genuinely feel like that's one of the things that I'm like most proud of, which maybe sounds crazy, but that isn't to like no shade, no shade, no tea. I don't want to shit on people who are in relationships, but I just personally in my life feel as if I have gained so much life experience from being single, and I've learned things that I feel you can only learn from being single. And, conversely, there are certain things that you can only learn by being in relationships. Like, I fully believe that. So I know there's like a whole, door that I have not unlocked to, a whole room of knowledge that I have not been able to, apply to my life yet or learn because I haven't been in relationships. But yeah, I think being single has taught me a lot. And one of those things that I've learned is about timelines. And I think there's a lot of like, fear mongering in media and especially rooted in religion about women especially needing to not only be in a relationship but to be married and to have kids by a certain age. And and I've had that fear as well like years ago. And I remember when I like when I turned 25, I remember I was like in the mirror, like taking a selfie, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm about to turn 25. I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach. And I think about that. That was 6 years ago. And I'm like, girlie, you have no fucking idea. Like you're about to like go through this, this, and this. You're about to have like a cute little fling with a Nicaraguan guy. Like, trust me, you're gonna have fun. You are going to be loving the experiences that you're having. And it just felt scary at the time. Not just to like, not really to be single, but just to be alive as a 25-year-old and not know what the next like phase of life looked like. And now that I'm obviously 6 years past that and I'm in the beginning of my 30s, I feel like there's that fear isn't really as much there anymore because it's like I've gone over the hump of it. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of I don't know if you feel this way about birthdays, but I feel like the part like leading up to your birthday always feels worse than your actual like birthday and the days after. And like I just have anxiety not about necessarily the age, but just birthdays are have always been like weird for me. And then after I have the birthday, I feel better. I'm like, I feel amazing. Like, what's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
You're actually annoying. The person who existed like a few days ago, I'm like, you're actually really insufferable. And I'm like, it's fine. And so there's so many girls that I want that are in their 20s and that are like never gonna find a person, never gonna get this job, never gonna move to this place or whatever. And I'm like, when it's gonna be bad is when you make decisions based out of fear. That's when you're gonna make poor decisions. That's why I think genuinely, and this statistic is not real, don't quote me on this, but I feel genuinely that like 80 to 90% of people settle in their relationships. I really believe that. I feel like my friends are going to reach out to me and be like, is it me? Am I in that statistic? Because like all my friends from back home in North Carolina are in relationships. Actually, in New York, this is what's amazing. I don't have like a single friend who has a partner, which is incredible.
What a girl gang,
I
honestly.
know. I've like never been in this situation before where like all of my friends don't have partners and I highly recommend it. That's when you settle and that's when you're going to be unhappy with your life and that's when you're actually going to perpetuate that cycle of fear, because I think a lot of people, reach those milestones that they were told are really important, and they don't feel fulfilled in the way that they thought that they would. And that just creates more fear for them about the future. Like, if I'm not happy now and I have this thing that I was told to want and now I have it, then what does that mean for the rest of my life? I think that can be scary. So, yeah, I think that in terms of timeline, you just need to know that it's not real. Like, it's genuinely not real. And also, I could go onto like a whole thing about how I think there's not the way that they call what is the number? It's like past a certain age, they consider a pregnancy like a geriatric pregnancy when it's like 32 or something.
Girl,
And I'm
it's
like,
like
right.
35, I think.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's insane. Let's circle back to this. And I'm not a doctor, not a doctor, but also new research is coming out that the window for fertility is a lot bigger than we think, and also that male sperm plays a much bigger role in fertility than science has told us before. So anyways, I want us to think about the things that we're being told. I want us to start questioning them more. I want us to think about what people's motivations may be for giving us this information. Like, think, what would be, the scientific community from our past motivation for telling women that they need to have kids at a young age? What do you think that could be? You guys fill in the blanks. I think you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think just start questioning things more. Stop thinking from a place of fear. Use instead curiosity. That really helps me fight the timeline. And I also want to say, like, that doesn't mean that I'm not also afraid. Like, I have fears about, I'm like, I don't even know if I want a partner, but I still fear that I won't have one, but I also fear hating it if I am with one. And you know what I
Damned if you
mean?
do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. And I'm scared of certain aspects of getting older, and the media has really made sure of that. The beauty industry they've done their work and they've done well.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say, like, there's fear there. I'm not like perfect and I don't have all the answers, but that's where I'm at. And now I'm going to take a breath.
Thank you so much, so much, because this is why I have this podcast, and this is why I am intentional with conversations, because I'm seeing your page on my tiny screen and being like, oh my gosh, she's amazing, and she had all these jobs and doing this. And yes, all of that is true. All of that is true. We're still human. You
Yeah.
still wake up with anxiety some days,
Mhm.
if not most days.
Mhm. Mhm.
There is a level of, I guess, just also like kind of cutting through the bullshit of what we perceive when we see somebody doing something that we want to do or that we're
Mhm.
inspired by.
Yeah.
And I really just honestly, I love to have these conversations, and I have this podcast just to breathe light onto those, more difficult experiences or emotions, and allow someone who is doing something incredible to be able to say, like, hey, yeah, there's days that suck, and there's moments of life that are universal, and
Mhm.
this is what I've learned works for me of how to process it. I don't know shit. I don't know anything. Like, that's also
Yeah.
something of being like, I don't know what I don't know.
Yes, I think that's a really important thing to be as like a person, but also as somebody who is online with any level of audience, is to, yeah, know what you don't know and be upfront about that. And I think that can also be what's like scary, is when you kind of make yourself vulnerable and put yourself out there online, is knowing that, number one, that people could have critiques for whatever you have to say, but also that, like, yeah, people will see you in a certain light, and then you do one thing and it's like their illusion shatters, kind of thing. And I think, especially as somebody who is in like the spiritual space as a yoga teacher, and I genuinely just posted like 2 days ago how I'm like, I want to kind of get away from yoga stuff a little bit. Like, I still want to do it, but I want to incorporate some other stuff as well, because I'm not just a yoga teacher. Like, there are so many different other parts of me, and this is like exactly what we just talked about. But I do feel this pressure as somebody in the yoga space, the spiritual space, to like behave in a certain way, uphold this certain standard, to kind of fit in this mold of like, as a spiritual person, people expect me or you or whoever it is to be always calm and always loving and always taking like the high road. And you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was genuinely one of the reasons why I almost didn't want to be a yoga teacher, because I was like, I don't fit that type. Like, I'm not that bitch. Like, I'm really not. And like anyone who knows me will tell you, I can be very like fierce and I am outspoken, and like I will call someone out if I think they're doing sus shit. Like, that is part of like my core value system, and I get angry and I get annoyed, and I'm sure I say things all the time that are not politically correct, and like obviously I do my very best, but as you said, I'm human. And so I part of the reason why I want to show more vulnerable parts of me online and authenticity and all that is because I like don't want people to put me or anyone else in the spiritual space on a pedestal. That's when things get weird, and it's not good for me or even the person. You know what I mean? Like who is
Totally.
doing it or idolizing whoever it may be. No matter like what kind of following you have, or even if you don't have a following at all and you're just out in the world, like as a public servant or just putting yourself out there in some way to be critiqued and seen, to be perceived. Oh, to be perceived.
To
Mm-hmm.
be perceived. What has been the best thing to ground and remind you of your power as you are being perceived and as you are sharing yourself and as you're moving through the world? Like,
That is a really good question. And I'm sort of in the process of navigating that, because I think that a lot of people in my position, or like actors or musicians or whatever, you would assume that because they're putting themselves out there like this, that they're prepared for the criticism, or, you know, that they're okay with being perceived like at a certain level. And it's kind of this dichotomy of like, we enjoy connecting with other people and like sharing ourselves and sharing our art or like whatever it may be, and at the same time we can be terrified of being perceived. That again is like the duality, the multitudes, like all the things, is that while I'm doing it and I feel called to do it, it is also scary. Like, I want that to be really clear. And even as a very small creator, like, it's scary to me feeling like I could say one wrong thing and I could just, create an onslaught of hateful comments or whatever it could be. Also, though, it's particularly tricky as someone whose like deepest darkest fear is that I'm a bad person. And I've like talked about this a little bit more recently, like over the year, acknowledge like my biggest fear in life is that I am not a good person. And that sort of informs all of my behavior, how I react to things, how I respond to criticism. That's also what I learned recently, a huge part of having ADHD, which by the way, I'm not officially diagnosed, but I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good. One of the big things is we don't respond to rejection well, and we take feedback with difficulty. And I've worked on this a lot, but like I remember when my parents would be like, "I'm just disappointed," the disappointed comment. That's always a good one.
my throat just got tight when you said that.
Yeah, they knew they ate with that. And that would kill me, and I would just like sob and lash out, because to me that meant you don't think I'm a good person anymore. You don't think I'm a good daughter. You did, and now you don't. And I have really struggled with that. And it was way worse when I was a kid, and maybe you again resonated with this as well, of like being the person who was always like really sensitive. Everyone's like, "Oh, she's so sensitive, blah blah blah." I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm neurodivergent. Have you ever considered that? And no, they didn't consider it. I could be totally wrong, and that would be really embarrassing, but I feel very strongly about it. And so that really played into it, and that's had to be something that I've worked on a lot. And so I had a sort of situation a few weeks ago that tested sort of this lesson that I've been learning of staying grounded in reality of like just because you receive a criticism or somebody doesn't want to be your friend or somebody perceives you in a certain way, somebody believes a narrative about you that isn't true, you don't have to let that impact your life in such a strong way, and you have to be rooted in your own truth of knowing that you're a good person. And that's been the struggle, is like I just need to like know that I'm a good person. I just need to be reminded of that, and it's hard to do when like there are days when you just don't believe it. So anyways, I had a situation a few weeks ago where I was going to an event where there would be a lot of people there that from my past who had essentially like exiled me from their lives, and because of a choice that was made a few years ago. And um they're the whole thing was really really traumatic for me and really upsetting, regardless of people's opinions about what actually happened. How I was treated in the situation, I felt was very 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 painful. It was like the most painful experience I've ever gone through in my life. And anyways, I had to go to an event where they were all there, and I was just panicking like leading up to it. I was actually like unwell. I had like autoimmune symptoms flaring, and my PCOS symptoms were flaring, and my periods were more intense like in the months like leading up to it, because I was so stressed about this. And I just was like desperate for tools from my therapist to help me like get through it. And basically what it came down to is she was like, you need to stay grounded in your reality, in your truth, which is that you are a good person despite what not only these people but anyone says. Like you need to feel good about yourself and that you're a good person, and you know you are, and so you need to like shut that out. And so we put together like a grounding statement, and it was a statement that was going to be like my emotional teddy bear like throughout the night, of like a statement that I kept coming back to, because I knew it was just going to be really hard to be around all of them. And my statement was, you are good and you have people around you that know you are good. That was like the statement. And it's very simple, but it's so powerful because not me like getting I'm like, wait, am I about to cry? No, I'm fine. Like even now as I'm saying it, it really hits, because it's just like when you have people in your life that see you, and you know the good, the bad, the ugly, everything, and they still know who you really are. They still know your true essence. They still know that you have good intentions always, and that you would never want to harm anyone intentionally, and that your heart is in everything that you do. And when you have that, you don't really need anything else. And anyways, that's what kept me grounded in that situation. And that, I think, just speaks to the overall issue that you were asking about before, which is like, how do I stay grounded in terms of like being perceived online, or even just like you said, out in the world. And yeah, I think it comes down to, you have to know yourself. And if you're happy with the way that you are, and you have like a close circle who knows who you are and is knows that you are good and is happy with the way that you are, then that's all that matters. And the truth is, and I'm saying it now because it's a good day, I do believe I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person. I know I have a good heart, and I feel like I am attracting people that see that. That would be my take on anyone who I guess is in any sort of situation of being perceived or whatever it is to stay grounded in your sense of self. But that's just me. Maybe someone else has a different way of seeing it.
That, yeah.
Are you tearing up right now?
Oh my
Stop.
gosh. And I'm a very emotional person. Like,
Okay.
at any
Twin.
movie, I can't see someone cry or I'm gonna cry. What you shared and how you shared it and just your vulnerability resonates so cellularly with me, with my own life and experiences similar. And first, I just want to acknowledge your strength in that experience and in that process, because that is no easy feat, and truly there is no preparation for that until you're in the moment, until you're there and you have, as you said, that support that you've cultivated for yourself. And I just
Is there something you want to share? I feel like I've been yapping away
I'm
about
just
your life.
I'm at a loss. Like, I I have been talking about an experience myself from when I lived in the city and the group of friends that I grew with in those
Mm.
3 years. I am no longer friends with them and I am no longer in communication with them. And while it's now been about 2 years since the experience, it could feel very fresh any given day.
100%, yeah.
And so, for you just to put light on your own experience, um, those things that are true and that are very real and that are very potent, not only for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, but as you just expressed, you even just talking about your own experience, like hit a chord for me as well. And so it's just very special to be able to hold yourself in that way for yourself. And honestly, you're doing that for others as well without even realizing it's simultaneous.
Well, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I think number one, we don't talk enough about friendship breakups, period.
Hmm.
I think those are some of the most like painful things in this life. And yeah, we've been taught to prioritize romantic relationships that when things like this happen, they're minimized.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm maybe you feel like one of the reasons why you don't really talk about what happened to you a lot is because you don't maybe you feel like people would say it's been so long, why are you so upset, or like you deserved it, or like what's the big deal, you can find new friends. And it's like, babe, please, like your friends are everything, like especially as women, our support systems are so strong and so like deeply intertwined in each other's lives that when they break, like it is truly life changing. Like it, I don't know if you could say the same thing, but like
Yep.
this situation truly changed my life. Like I split up my life between before before this went down and after. Like that's how
Wow.
I genuinely split up my life, because it was that like monumental of a change in not only just like my life, but like the way I saw myself and my identity and all of that. And so yeah, I'm glad that we could relate on this note, because it is really horrible.
Yeah. As challenging and as hard and as suffocating as these experiences are,
Hmm.
I do also have to honor that nugget of light that lives within it
Yeah.
because it is those experiences that we have that literally bring us into the new version of self that we were not ready for. We did not want to necessarily face, that we didn't know we needed.
Hmm.
And I like, while this friendship breakup that I'm talking about was, I mean, in my adult life, was the hardest breakup I've had, honestly. I cannot thank that experience enough for who is here today
Mm.
and for how then I had to meet myself and I had to comfort myself, but also fill those needs that I was outsourcing. And it goes for relationships. It goes for all relationships. That like I honor all of the emotions that come with these times. I also want to honor the strength that it takes to be able to hold yourself through that and the trust that you cultivate for yourself within.
Yeah. you know full honesty, like full disclosure, still in the like, I really wish that didn't happen, and no, I'm like still pissed off, and I'm like still really hurt by that. I'm like getting there. Definitely, like there's been a lot of growth, and there are little moments where I'm like, wow, I never would have been able to do this XYZ if I was still in this situation, if I had never moved away, whatever. But a lot of the pain is still there, and I still feel a lot of like bitterness towards it. But I think that's like part of the process. And I know that I will get there. I know that it will happen and things will become more clear. Like, I feel like things don't really stay unresolved. And I mean, I just had like a revelation about something that happened 10 years ago. And when this was happening at the time, I was like, I'll never understand why this happened to me. And 10 years later, I'm seeing this like chapter close. I'm like, God damn it. got me again. I didn't think it was gonna happen for me, and it did. And I'm like, you played that well, you're so touche. And it did happen. And so I think that's like a really good reminder as well, is to say, like, okay, if you feel, isn't there like a quote or something that's like, if it feels, if you're still sad, then it's not over, or like something, then it's not really over. And that's kind of how I feel like,
Mm.
if I'm still feeling this way, then the journey is just not over. Like I will feel that way. I'm just, there's still like work that is left to be done. But I think that's a good thing to just keep close, is to know that, and to believe, like you have to tell yourself, like answers will come one day, one way or another, as to like why this needed to happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be shocked at what the answer is. But yeah, so what would you say, if you don't mind me asking, what would you say like you gained from having to endure that experience?
I do want to acknowledge that I am very much a glass half full kind of person. And while it's definitely beneficial, there's also a bit of toxic positivity within that if you're not careful. And so I just want to be honest and real that since I left the city in December, says I've been doing nothing but these therapy groups and this deep work
Yeah.
that has all encompassed me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly just been my priority this year of really, really hashing a lot of the things that I've been lying to myself about.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while I am very grateful for this time to have been really deconstructing these demons of mine, it has been a journey. And I also want to acknowledge that wherever I am in this process, there's no time for it. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason or understanding of why. And it has been the hardest thing to hold myself in this way when I'm ashamed of the way that she acted or what she said or how she treated somebody. And I too hold this idea that I am a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
And that always moves me forward. And it honestly, you don't have to feel compassion or complete love for either that version of self that was in that or even those people and the experience of it.
Yeah.
You can still be moving through and allowing it to move through you, allowing it to help you
Mm-hmm.
grow without feeling peace or
Yeah.
any type of way that you should feel about it. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think that it was that mindset shift that has been the biggest game changer for me as someone who is so into all of the self-help books and information that can teach me something of soul evolution. Yes, that's all good and great and dandy, but what they don't always say is that, like, it's okay to not be okay. And you're not broken because of that or any less whole
Yeah.
in your journey of life.
And I'll add on to that, not only is it okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to be pissed off. It's okay to be angry. I think that is a huge thing for women, especially. I have been kind of doing a dive into like women's anger recently. A year ago, I read this book. I forget the author, but it was called like The Power of Female Rage or something. The Power of Women's Rage, and the subtitle was like, and how to use it for good, or like something like that. And I actually like gave it to someone a few months ago. I was like, I love like giving people books, like book exchanges. So I was like, you need this, trust me. And basically what it talks about in there is just all the different ways that women have been conditioned to basically like steer clear of anger and adopt more acceptable emotions like sadness. That's why, or one of the reasons why, women cry so much more than men do, because not necessarily because we're more emotionally inclined or evolutionarily made to be that way. It's actually cultural conditioning that has taught us that, no one likes a mad woman, and that to be angry and frustrated and to express your irritation with someone is unattractive. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is that it's actually unattractive. And that's also why a lot of men don't take women in power seriously. And why women who have leadership skills are just called bitchy or bossy instead of assertive and someone who has great ideas, great vision. There are all these different reasons why we're like diverted away from feeling our anger. And I definitely have felt that growing up, that like when I was angry, it wasn't taken seriously by the people around me, and my emotions were dismissed. And that's also why a lot of women end up in toxic situations for a lot longer than they should, because either they were just taught to never express their anger, so they just never expressed it, or when they do, bring up a problem to their partner, or even if it's a friendship, it's often dismissed when they get angry about it. It's not because it's not taken seriously. We're just told we're over emotional, we're overthinking, we expect too much, we're on our periods, whatever. And so I think that's a really, really dangerous phenomenon that has been thrust onto women around the world, and it's actually like making us sick. I do you know I never know if I'm saying his name right. Gabor Mate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with him. I like want him to be my father, but that's like a problem for another day. He is a doctor, and his family like fled from Hungary during World War II. He's Jewish. He obviously has a lot of trauma, whatever. He's done a lot of studies on autoimmune disorders and their connection to people, and he talks about how 80% of all people who have autoimmune disorders are women. And he doesn't even say I feel that it's connected to this. He says it is because women are suppressed emotionally, and we are people pleasers, and we fawn, and we go with the flow, and it's actually making us sick, which is crazy because I actually know many people in my life with autoimmune disorders, and they're all women, and they're all people pleasers. It's crazy. And like, there are gonna be people that are like, that's so woo woo. Like, how can you even make that connection? But it makes sense. And especially if you've read the book, The Body Keeps Score, or any other sort of literature in that area of like somatic healing and the connection between psychology and physiology and how our body handles trauma and stress and blah, blah, blah. But I genuinely do feel that to be true. And that has like changed the way I see my entire life of like, if I don't express this, I could be making myself sick. And I don't want that to be my life. Like, I've had enough health issues. I don't need another one. So, anyways, this goes back to what you were saying, which is like, I think there's so much pressure when you're healing from something, especially as a woman, that we need to get over it within a certain time frame, or that, and then there's like guilt and shame if you don't feel, I feel I'm healed from that. And I have so much love for those people, and like, I wish them the best.
Love and light.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They made me want to jump off a bridge, and I had to have love for them. Like, I don't like it may like not right now, at least. Like, deep down in my heart, do I still have love for them? Yes. And like, our in our relationship and like the time that we spent together, absolutely. But like, I'm angry. I'm upset by the way that they treated me, and I'm allowed to feel that. There's like, it's like all the like telling women like, you just need to get over it, forgive him for cheating, forgive them for treating you this way, just get over it. Like, we have to be the one who is submitting, who is just letting bygones be bygones, just letting it go, taking the higher ground. Why do we always have to take the higher ground? Yeah, so I hope that you, because this was a struggle for me during my situation. I didn't feel like I could be angry about it. I didn't want to feel. It's not that I didn't feel like I shouldn't, because I definitely feel like I should and I deserve to be angry, but it was more like, I don't want to hold this anger. It feels really uncomfortable. And also, I know that if I express the anger, it won't be taken seriously and people won't care about it. But ultimately, like, you have to shift the perspective from like, what are they going to say if I express this? And how am I going to feel when I express this?
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to help me? And I'm not saying like go on a smear campaign and like throw hot shit on their front porch. Like, I'm not saying to do vile, violent things. I'm just saying, like, I feel like we owe ourselves the right to, like, express how we feel in whatever way that works for us. And I hope that you give yourself the space to be mad if you're mad. Like, that's what my therapist will tell me. Like, there's no, should I feel this way? Do I even have the right to feel this way? There is no should or having the right. You feel this way, and that's it.
Period.
End of sentence. Yeah. I'm sweating. Anyway,
I'm sweating too.
I wasn't sweating before, but we really got into it. Love this for us.
Honestly, I was not anticipating this conversation today. Truly, deeply, like,
Like that it would take this direction?
yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm really thankful that you are showing up in the way that you are. I have a question for you.
Tell me.
Ooh, I love. Okay.
Scared.
I have you read the
Four
Women Who Run
Agreements.
with
Women Who Run with Wolves.
Love the Four Agreements, but yes, Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Okay, so one of my little cute little quirks is that I will often start a book and not finish it for months, maybe years. So that is one of the books that I started last year, and I barely made a dent, but I did have the full intention of reading it, and that's what counts. So
It is a very, very special book. And so while I did read it in a not consecutively, but I read a good chunk of it in a period of time. It's a lot. And I will say it's one of those books that you pick up and that you read the story specifically, I feel, when you are meant to
mm,
receive the knowledge because it's full of folklore and ancestral medicine that has been passed down, and Clarissa is just
yeah.
otherworldly.
Now I'm pissed off that I didn't finish it, and I left it in my storage unit in North Carolina. Now I'm like, because I do remember a few of the like tales from the beginning and how they made me angry. I mean, that's my thing is like I get so angry learning about anything that's like the history of women because most of it involves our suppression,
Hmm.
and so I have to like take it in like chunks, or I'll just like start setting things on fire. You know?
Yeah. Digesting it, and once you're able to read her explanation and how she's researched the story and describes it and breaks it down for you,
Mm-hmm.
this is your sign to pick it back up whenever you do.
I can recommend to you a book that you should maybe not read all of it, but skim through because you'll get the gist. It's called When God Was a Woman. Have you heard of this? It's a anthropological, maybe that's the
There
word I'm
we
looking
go.
for. Anthropological historic breakdown of the history of different religions that involved worshiping women deities. And turns out there was a lot of them, and they've almost exclusively been erased from history, and or maybe not even erased, but like translated in a different way. That's like, oops, we dropped the S, and now it's just he. What do you
Mm.
know? Yeah, and anyways, I learned it's not like a super exciting book, but it is very enlightening, and that they talk about so many different belief systems throughout history till like the beginning of time, or at least to the time where we had any sort of evidence, like to that point, and that they worshipped many female gods, and this all comes down to the fact that women are the only people that can create life, or people with uteruses are the only people that can actually create life. And that is the most godlike thing there is.
Hmm.
And like when I read that, I was like, period. Like, why did I never think about that? And like, I don't really know if I want to be a mom, but like, adore mothers. And I truly see them as like warriors.
Mm-hmm.
They are the warriors of our society. They are the very foundation of our society. Like, we would not exist, not just without them bringing life into the world, but also all the caretaking they do, the raising children. Like, it's crazy. We just wouldn't exist without them. And I think they're incredible and amazing. And they should be paid. I think women should be paid for being moms, but let's leave that for another time. Anyways, so yeah, that really shifted my way of thinking as well. And I feel like, just to be clear, maybe a man like listening to this right now who's like, you're probably a man hater. And it's like, just because I really appreciate women and I want to like lift them up does not mean it doesn't say anything about you. This isn't about you. It's like the whole idea of like somebody. else's beauty like doesn't take away from yours. Yes, men contribute to society. Blah 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 blah. We get it. Anyways.
I asked you if you read Women Who Run with the Wolves because I wanted to ask you about the wild woman archetype. And
Mm,
what I want to ask you is
mm,
like, how then are you connecting
mm.
with your sacred anger, with the wild woman who lives within you? How are you safely showing her that she can be mad and share that and is
Yeah,
supposed to?
right. That's really hard because it's like an ongoing practice. I actually recently started a course on feminine embodiment, and part of that is doing a practice of like it could be 5 minutes to an hour every day, where you start on a mat or a surface of any kind and you're playing music and you sort of like open up space for whatever feeling is coming up for you, and you just like move on the mat in accordance with that feeling, and then the music will build and it kind of will, the feelings that you have, they'll evolve over the course of your practice. And I use like a guided thing that comes along with the course, so there's like a person that's hopping on every 5 to 10 minutes to kind of like guide you through it, but that really helps. And it sounds like the most simple thing, because it is, and it is like the most natural thing, is to like move your bodies to express yourself, but that has brought up a lot of powerful emotions for me, and it is a form of somatic release. So like
Mm.
anything that you've done before that is somatic healing or ecstatic dance or things like that are basically what I'm talking about. So, do I do those things as much as I should? Absolutely not. No, I'm such a hypocrite. I avoid doing them genuinely because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to feel heavy emotions, and that's just like a deeply poignant commentary on our society and how like numb we are. Um yeah, and I need to be doing those things more, but like when I'm not lying to you and to myself and saying that I do those things regularly, I am I'm doing yoga. I think that really helps me just feel connected to my body. And I think
Mm.
when you feel connected to your body, you open up space to feel things that you've been ignoring. So, yoga is a huge thing. I also just think that having healthy relationships has been really healing for me in that aspect. I have friends here, and obviously like the relationships still feel very new because I've only been here for a year, but my friends here genuinely are so mature, and even many of them are younger than me, and like 26, 27, like just up to 31. Like they're in this the same era as me, and I think this can be said for a lot of women, but they've all put in the work. Like they've done the therapy, they've read the books, they are self-aware, and they're good communicators. That's the biggest
Mm.
thing. And like there was a conflict came up like a week or two ago, something that some of my friends did that inadvertently like hurt my feelings, and they actually reached out to me and were like, hey, we know that we like did this thing that like was hurtful to you, and we just want to say we're here, like let's talk about it. One of them was like, I'll call you after work, like if you want to talk about it, I'm here, like I want to hear how you're feeling. And even just like receiving that text was like, oh my god, like I've never, it's just not never, because I do have a group of friends from back home who also like embody this 100%, because I've had those friends for a really long time. So this was a reminder of like I can make new friends that also I have this kind of like relationship with, where it's healthy and the communication is healthy and they care about my feelings, and like I'm allowed to be mad and sad about a thing that they did. And not only were they like, not only did I know that we were going to be able to work through it, but they also were like, you're allowed to be mad, like be mad if you want, like be sad, like we get all of those emotions if that's what you're experiencing. And so that in itself was really healing for me, and I think that is a major part of being grounded and feeling safe to express anger or certain emotions is just having healthy people in your life who know how to receive that. That's huge. And I think like same thing goes from what I've seen. A really great way to heal from like attachment styles in romantic relationships is to have positive dating experiences. And you can only heal so much on your own, to the point where you just have to like experience being in a dynamic where your triggers are going to be brought to light. And it's, a healthy relationship doesn't mean that you're never going to fight, you're never going to have conflict. It just means that the person or the people that you're dealing with are going to be better able to make you feel safe to have that conflict. I think that's the biggest thing. So safety in your relationships.
Be sitting with that for a second.
Please do.
Mackenzie, thank you so much. So much.
Of course.
I would love for you to share where the people can find you and connect with you, and
Yeah.
love you.
Well, I am on TikTok and Instagram. My handle is on the mat with Mac. So mat as in like yoga mat, and Mac as in MACK. Don't forget the K. Maybe I'll have a YouTube channel one day, but that feels like a lot. So we'll see.
I'm always like, oh, do I go on Patreon? Do I do Substack? Do I go here? Do I do that? And it's like,
I did Patreon for like 10 months. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. But maybe I could come back to it. And I think you could try it. That's the thing. We could always try it and then stop. That's the thing. We don't actually have to stick with everything that we try. Life
did
lesson.
we just come full circle?
I think we did.